So we are here. Casey Wilder Mott, it is here. The premiere of A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Right there.
There it is. Your first feature film. You're tackling Shakespeare. What were you thinking?
That's a great question. You know, I've been told many times the last 2, 3, however many years it's been making this, that it was ambitious. And I have to say, I guess it's that invincible ignorance thing where it just never occurred to me as being ambitious. It was just something I really, really wanted to do. I've loved the play for a long time. I am really familiar with it. I've acted in it a few times. I stage managed it in the theater. I've read it countless times and studied it. And I just think it's a really special piece of work. I mean, obviously, Shakespeare's entire canon is special. You know, it's a monument. It's a timeless thing. And there are a number of the plays that I'm particularly fond of. And I don't think I would be superlative and say that this is the favorite play of mine, but it's certainly in the running. You know, I think it's a really special play, and I was excited to reimagine it in this way.
Well, that begs the question, what is your favorite Shakespearean play?
Well, if it's not this, I would say, gosh, how can you pick one? For a comedy, let's just say that it would probably be Midsummer Night's Dream. For the tragedies, and it's pretty consistently Midsummer Night's Dream, for the tragedies, that switches around a lot more, because sometimes I'm really drawn to King Lear, sometimes I love Macbeth, I love the athleticism of it. You know, how could anything ever be better than Hamlet, of course, you know? And then, you know, I like to sort of like find like the little lesser known gems as well, like Cymbeline and Winter's Tale and Measure for Measure, the problem plays and the romance plays, which I think are, you know, less widely produced and maybe less widely appreciated, but are in some regards some of Shakespeare's greatest accomplishments. You know, I mean, The Tempest was a late play, and that has a little bit more popular awareness than some of the other ones I mentioned. And, you know, so it's hard to pick one.
Well, I'm a big fan of Coriolanus, so... And that's obscure.
Yeah. They're actually doing it up in Topanga right now, and it's a fabulous production. They have a young actor playing Coriolanus, and I forget his name, but he's outstanding. I mean, obviously, Coriolanus is all about Coriolanus. You know, you need a great actor who's going to have a good take on the part and who's going to have real guts on stage, and they've got that right now. And if you guys aren't able to make it out and go see that, I recommend that you see the Ralph Fiennes Coriolanus, written by...
Which is amazing.
Yeah, written by the great John Logan and directed by Ralph Fiennes, starring Ralph Fiennes as Coriolanus. And it was, you know, it's a spectacular film, and it's really a shame that it, you know, it had a measure of success in its own way, but not enough people saw it when it came out, you know, and that's really a shame because it's such a spectacular take on that play.
But you know, you talk about it's a shame that not enough people see a film, and that's one of the beauties about a chain like the Landmark chain, who really helps celebrate small indie films like A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah. No, we sold the film at the end of last year to a distributor, and just quick 101 on how film releasing works is, you know, you make the film, you go to a festival, you sell it to a distributor, and then a distributor kind of in turn sells it to an exhibitor like Landmark. And we were thrilled that Landmark picked this film up. It's such a prestigious chain. They're nationwide. They've been around for such a long time. They play great films. They're very filmmaker friendly, which as a filmmaker you're really happy about. And you know, here we are, and they're hosting us tonight. So we're really honored to be here. Thank you, Landmark.
But you know, with Landmark being so, they are very particular about the films that they take, especially to run nationwide, which is what A Midsummer Night's Dream will be. What does that do to you as a filmmaker? Because it speaks to the quality of your film. Reviews have been starting to come out. You know how much I loved it when I saw it last year before it even hit the festival circuit. And my love for it has only grown in the past year.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, you know, how does that make you feel in terms of a validation of how good the film really is?
It feels really good, I'm not going to lie, you know. I mean, it was a risky project to undertake, particularly as a first film. I'm really proud of it. Obviously, I think there are problems with it. There are things that if I could go back and change, I would. Yeah, I know. But on balance, I'm really happy with it. I'm really proud of it. But it's your work, it's your art, you know, and you never know how it's going to be received once it goes out into the world. I mean, I've been in the business long enough to know that you can never really tell which way the wind is going to break when it comes to critics. And I've been very happy by how the critics have received this film and how Landmark has received it. I mean, Mark Valen, who is the buyer for Landmark, the West Coast buyer, I sort of heard through the grapevine that he really sort of championed this film at the Landmark family. and he's a real tastemaker in LA, you know, and I was really honored to hear that. So it's really flattering.
Well, you know, and speaking of flattering, you have a cast that most veteran directors would die for. You've got FRAN KRANZ, who is also your real partner in crime. He is right behind you. He's his adoring. Yes, you need to come and enjoy the adoration.
Signing autographs. Jesus.
No big deal.
Do you want me to sign it? Do you want me to sign it?
But so come join in the fracas here, Fran. You know, just regaling about the incredible cast that the two of you put together, because you are a producer on the film in addition to deliciously playing Bottom. So how did you go about bringing in Hamish Linklater? You got Yvonne, Jogia, Avon. I can never get his name right. I couldn't get it right last year either.
It took me about 3 days on set.
You have the wonderful Emmy-nominated, brand new Emmy-nominated. You know, Finn Wittrock. You've got Ted Levine. You've got Rachel Lake Cook. You've got, I mean, just amazing cast here. Paz de la Huerta. How did you put these you know, big ticket names together?
This guy right here.
Yeah, it was all. Yeah, no, I'm lucky to know some of these people. I've worked with some of them before, or we've had mutual friends, and just honestly fortunate to know these talented people. They're literally in my phone book. So Casey came to me with the script, which I loved, immediately got on board, was really enthusiastic about getting it made, and we kind of turned to our friends and the resources we had and sent the script out and got sort of unanimously positive response. And then it became sort of a game of who is available, how long do we want to wait. Eventually Casey essentially was like, I want to do this right now. So it kind of became who's available and the soonest amount of time. And we ended up with the cast that we had, not 100% by design, but by kind of the sort of luck and necessity of making this movie. But obviously we ended up with amazing people, you know what I mean? And but yeah, a lot of it, but although half the names you mentioned I did not know, and that was Casey's hard work as well. But essentially, he cast the movie. You know, he sort of put it together and sent it out, and it reached all these wonderful actors, and we got really lucky.
Well, I would say we cast the movie, and really more Fran, because you know the way casting a movie works is it's those early attachments that are really critical. That's kind of what brings in other interest. And so first I had Fran, and then we got Lily and Hamish and Finn, and once we had those four people, then it went from an outgoing call project to an incoming call project.
True.
You know,
no agency seemed to care when it was just me.
Oh, you're doing a Shakespeare adaptation, and it's a low-budget independent film. No, thank you. You know. But once we had those 4 or 5 people in place, you know, ICM's calling us, hey, I heard you got this film that you're putting together, and you know, so that was an interesting transition. But I think most importantly, we got a great cast out of it. But because it was built in this very social, kind of organic, ad hoc way, there was a certain bonhomie on set. You know, there was a certain camaraderie that we felt with each other that I think you get on a lot of independent films, but we really had it in spades on this one. And you know, that helped get through some of the tough shoots, the night shoots, and you know, days 18, 19, 20 when everyone's just tired and wants to go home and see their family. And you know, it was good to have that sort of atmosphere for those days.
And that's one of the great things, because you were shooting, you have a lot of night scenes in here. You were shooting night for night and day for day for this film.
At one point, I think there was an idea of doing a day for night, right?
That's right, because we
was
saw
sort of a discussion.
Fury Road, and we saw the way that they did Day for Night in Fury Road, and then we looked into it a little deeper and found out that was actually fantastically expensive in terms of lab fees for the way they did it, because the Day for Night thing was like, well, it'll probably be cheaper and easier if we do it this way, so that scrapped that idea. The cameraman and I, the cinematographer and I, Dan Katz, did talk about it briefly. We did a couple tests, but ultimately Night for Night was the way to go.
There's something cool, there's something magical that happens at night, on night shoots too. As grueling as they are, there's something bonding. You know, there's an element of that where the chemistry becomes that sort of much tighter, and the actors and ensemble become that much closer. doing night shoots, you know. So especially in a film like this, there's the sort of fairy element and the magic element. There was something, I think it was ultimately sort of a good thing that we spend so much time together at night in the woods, actually out in Topanga or Griffith Park a little bit. You know, that was kind of special, you know. It'd been kind of weird if we were doing a midsummer movie and we were always doing day shoots.
That's what I said from the beginning on this project, is like, we're going to go to the woods to shoot this, you know. I mean, I love some of the previous adaptations that have been done, but a real shortcoming, I think, of those films is that none of them went to the woods to shoot the woods.
Oh, right. There's
you know?
so much set piece.
Yeah, they're all shot on sound stages, and I just think that that's a real shame, you know, because one of the core themes of Midsummer Night's Dream is how nature is transformative, you know, and you know the mystery and the majesty and the menace of nature is not something that you can fake, no matter how good your art design is, you know.
I love that.
So so rather than like try and do that, and you know, partly it was necessity being the mother of invention. It's like, well, it's like easier for us to go out and shoot in Topanga, which is exactly what we did, and I think we got beautiful stuff out of it.
Well, and speaking of your art design, your production design is fabulous, as is your cinematography. This is what sets this film apart. One of the big things from the other versions that we have seen is it truly is. It is gorgeous, it is mesmerizing, it hypnotizes, and your use of color, it just soars.
Yeah, it's nice. I've been reading a lot of that, which is really, I imagine, kind of gratifying, right? You know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the color scheme was a risk for sure. You know, particularly choosing to go really bold with the red palette. But and some people haven't responded in that same fashion to it, and that's fine. You know, I mean, I wanted to make a big, bright, bold, colorful film, and not everyone is gonna love that. But you know, I think what was really beautiful about the film was Fran's transformation into Bottom. So we might not want to bury the lead here, but that's really quite sumptuous and sexy, isn't it, Fran?
Yeah. It was super sexy inside of all that. Yeah,
I bet. Yeah,
it was super. Yeah.
Well, you know, talking about super sexy, do I see our Demetrius hiding over there?
Talk about super sexy.
You like that transition?
Well, congratulations.
Oh, you too.
Join us, Finn. Come join us.
What's handsome?
Look at that. You know,
Have you even seen this thing over here? Okay.
You know,
A wide lens.
a wide.
Congrats.
Yes, Emmy nomination. I mean, I was utterly just thrilled when I heard your name called out.
I was too.
Emmy nomination, Oscar nomination.
Come on,
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, Oscar.
Move in closer, boys, and don't trip.
Is this all right, Debbie?
Yeah, get in here, Finn. Come
We
on.
don't want to block out Hamish, though. You know.
Well, he didn't bother to show up today, so.
Well, he's shooting in New Orleans, so.
All right, I guess we can forgive him.
Yeah, I know.
And that who's that? Who's that blonde chick? She's down there with
Don't
him.
we have a stand-in for English tonight?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, set secrets. Set secrets.
But I want to hear from Finn. You know, what is the beauty of Shakespeare and doing this film?
Wow. So I'll just sum
Start
that
off
up
with an
in a
easy one,
quick
huh, Finn?
sentence. I think that this play has been done for so many years, and it's been such a popular piece to kind of do for every summer stock and every festival. And I think that there's just something really charming in the language, and something that continues to reveal itself about the play. As much as you think you know it, there's still more that sort of surprises you, you know? Like, I always thought Demetrius was kind of a bit of a tool, you know? And he is, for sure. But he's also got this, like, great redemption at the end that I didn't really know existed till I did that. And I feel like I know this play sort of backwards and forwards. So, it never gets old, you know? That's why.
Because you're no stranger to Shakespeare. You have done Shakespeare before. It is part of your life. So what is it about Casey's adaptation? Since he did the adaptation of the script, and it's difficult adapting Shakespeare. So I'm curious if you know what stood out for you about the words that he chose and the interpretation, the decision he made to set it in L.A.
Yeah, there was something really sharp, I remember, about the screenplay when I first read it. It was, you know, I've seen lots of sort of all right sort of adaptations of trying to make it modern, but the way that he kept the same language and yet made it very crisp and sharp and kind of sexy and very modern, like, you know, the Forest of Arden being Hollywood. It's sort of a built-in political structure, which is what Shakespeare was writing about in not Arden, it's Athens. So I don't know, there was something kind of very, very, like a great energy to it, which I think, which the play, when it's done best, captures, you know, a kind of mischievous, sort of sensual.
That's a good description.
Yeah, I was going to use a dirtier word, but we're on PG. And that kind of very like young and hungry kind of Hollywood vibe actually worked really well with the old play.
You know, I'm very curious because you're working in television, film, stage. You're hitting all of the various disciplines, but you know, and now you've got a second Emmy nomination to your name. What is it about jumping into a small independent film like this that speaks to you, since you do keep going back and forth?
Yeah, it's not the size of the trailers, that's for sure. I think it's just really, you feel like you're making it together. You feel like you're a real creative contributor to the actual piece as it turns out to be. You know, there's not a great structure over your head. You're usually driving yourself to work. You know, it's like bare bones and kind of gritty, like in the actual filming of it, and that's fun. I mean, I enjoy that kind of like feeling like we're all making it together in this room, and kind of makes or breaks with us, you know?
Hey.
Uh-oh.
Who we have here now, Debbie? It's Bree Barnes, who plays Mott.
Oh, wow, welcome. Well, you get in on the fun, too.
Bree Barnes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how
there.
excited are you?
They're not here for me.
I am incredibly excited to be here. I just, when I walked up, we were just speaking of how beautiful the marquee looks outside of this theater, and it's just fantastic. I don't know, how excited are you? I think you already answered that probably. But
I'm all right. It's on the scale.
He's more excited now that Moth's here.
Yeah, obviously. The stars arrived.
He's on his Emmy nomination high, so...
Oh, well.
Yeah, I'm over that. No,
We're over
just
that.
kidding.
It's the second time around. It's old hat. Oh.
No, it's very cool.
What was it like for you entering the world of William Shakespeare?
Well, I think for most people it was kind of daunting, to be honest with you. I at first was a little bit, had some trepidation. I was a little scared, but at the same time, Casey was such a wonderful guide to that world, and I jumped in and never looked back, and it was fantastic. I had a blast with these guys. I have to say. We really did.
It was not boring.
All right. Tell me, you know, behind the scenes hijinks. What did the two of you do?
Okay, so there was this one scene, a party scene, and he was dancing with
Lily, probably.
Yeah, I think it was Lily the whole time, and everybody was trying to step on each other's toes. It was long. It was a long shoot that day.
Yeah, they were all
But
long.
then we kept kind of gooseberrying the twins, and that was kind of fun. And we kept deking them out and saying, "Oh no, Casey said you're supposed to be over there." Well, who is he talking about? Who is he talking about? So we just kind of messed with the twins, really.
There's this easy target, you know, shooting fish in a barrel, you know. Yeah.
You know, in other words, you need a greater challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have.
It was too late for that, for a challenge. You
I
know?
had such heavy false eyelashes on that I couldn't see fully. You know, like I didn't have full periphery. You know.
Yeah.
So you had a perfect excuse. So.
Yeah. What's yours?
Yeah. What's yours?
No, I just remember being cold at 4 a.m. most of the shoot up in the woods
You
of
can't complain.
behind Beverly
I was
Hills.
in.
Yeah.
You'll see
Up
my
in,
garb.
yeah.
My garb was.
I've seen your garb already. So
You can call it that. Yeah.
that's a good point.
Knitted. It was crochet.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm so happy you're here because he's been so looking forward to this night.
So He's done so much work.
I know. I mean, I've been following this since LAFF last year.
Cool.
So,
She said it's
It's been a long time in the pipeline.
so you don't want me here with you guys tonight. This is amazing.
Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Guys, go enjoy,
Yeah, let's
drink,
go see
meet
it,
your
shall we?
public, and build
Oh yeah,
up
are
the
there
film.
PBRs? Awesome.
Debbie, it's your old friend Ed.
Ed, yes, I am fine. You know, it is so good to see you here again, since Pawn Sacrifice was the last time that we spoke.
Yeah,
And I still love that movie.
that's great.
I really,
This young lady right here.
That's right. She was in it.
yes, yes. But now, you know, you were saying earlier, you're going in cold. You're going to be moderating the Q&A, but you're going in cold to see this film.
I prefer that. Yeah, I rather have the same response that the audience does, which is to say that moment that they've seen it, I've seen it, and I'm just approaching it the way that they might approach it. That's always fun.
Well, you are such a renowned writer, producer, director. I'm curious, how many versions of Midsummer's Night have you seen over the years? There have been so many.
Wow, that's a really okay. Well, how long you got? Because when I was in college, I actually saw a version of the 1936 Max Reinhardt version with W.C. Fields and Mickey Rooney.
Oh my God.
Yep. And then I know I've seen. I saw Peter Brook's version on the stage in New York, very famous production, all in a gymnasium with ropes and swings. I know that Peter Hall did a movie version of it. I did not see Michael Hoffman's version that had Stanley Tucci and Kevin Kline, and Michael Hoffman's a friend of mine, but I've never seen that film of it. I've seen it in the park, you know, and I've seen I remember a really bad version in a little Colorado town put on by a local community theater, but it was so beautiful because it was twilight in the mountains with fireflies, and it was probably the truest Midsummer Night's Dream production I'd ever seen, even though the actors were terrible.
Okay, well, I won't spoil anything for you, but I will tell you, I didn't see any fireflies in this version.
You're not.
You know, what does it mean for you? Because I know that you and Casey have a long relationship, and for you to come in tonight, do a Q&A for him, you know, you're not some slouch off the street.
You know, I gotta say, I mean, I don't want to sound like the old fart who's saying this, but people did it for me. You know, I mean, Sidney Pollack came and did an early movie of mine. He had been a kind of a mentor to me. Who else? Oh gosh, Paul Mazursky was somebody who really took an interest when I was 26 years old, and I think it's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to really look at somebody whose work you really think is good and honor them and be there for them.
Well, I'm so thrilled for Casey and for you that you're going to get to see this tonight. You're going to moderate for him. He's forgiven for not having me moderate, so that's okay because it's you. But go enjoy. But I want to know, what are you working on now?
I've got a film I've just finished called Trial by Fire. It's a very strong movie. It's with Laura Dern and Jack O'Connell. It's about a murder case in Texas in 1997, and it's a very interesting piece of work. We're going to be taking it to festivals this fall.
Okay. Well, I know what I'm going to be looking for, since LA Film Festival's in the fall now.
Okay.
Thanks,
See you
Ed.
later.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
So the tickets are bought, the crowds are in their seats, and the film has started rolling, and you two are standing out here.
What are we doing?
Are you going to wait for reactions? You're going to go in and spy on people? How do you think this audience that you've been greeting as they were coming in the door are going to react?
What do you think, Fran?
Oh, I think they're gonna love it. I mean, we got a lot of like friends and family in here, so we're playing at home, right? But I'm definitely gonna go watch. We've waited how many years for this, or sort of dreamed of it,
Yeah,
I guess
a
too.
long time.
It was sort of started as a bit of a dream, or just conceived of this moment maybe happening. So it's super gratifying and super, I don't know, it's a little emotional, you know, to finally sort of be here. So I as much as I don't even know how many times I've seen the movie at this point. So it's not so much about sitting and watching the movie as sort of watching my friends enjoy it.
Totally.
You know, I think that's where the pleasure is going to come tonight.
Yeah.
You know.
And what about for you?
I agree with all of those sentiments. I have seen it a bunch of times, probably a couple more than Fran at this point. And the main thing that I notice is that 50% of it is the room, 50% of it is the audience. I mean, I know that from sort of having some background as a stage actor, but I've never had the occasion to see a film so many times in so many different theaters with so many different audiences. To learn that lesson is also almost equally true in film. And, as excited as I am to see it tonight with a lot of friends and family and people who worked on the film, and it'll be great, but the most exciting thing, and I've only gotten to do this a couple times, and I'm actually going to sneak in here a couple times this week and do this and just go sit in the back, is seeing it in a fresh room with people who don't know anything about it, And I think there's a lot of fresh eyes tonight, but I bet about half the people are one way or another, worked on the film or friends of ours or know about some of the big reveals. And on the occasions that I've gotten to see it with a room full of fresh eyes, it's just thrilling, And I've been really satisfied at how well it's been working. So yeah. But I'm looking forward to tonight too. Ed Zwick's going to moderate the Q&A.
Yeah,
how fun
that's
is
awesome.
that?
Yeah, that's really cool.
I
Yeah,
know.
the guy's a legend.
You got an Oscar winner. You got it. Yeah.
Right? He's going to know what to talk about, know what to ask.
No, he's coming in cold. He's in his seat right now. He's gonna.
He's seeing it now,
shoot from
Fran.
the hip.
I love it. Yeah.
But when you're Ed Zwick, you can do stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
That's right.
The guy's
Well-
a towering intellect.
Well, now go watch Spy on the Audience.
We will.
Thanks, Debbie.
I want a full report after.
Thanks,
you.
Debbie. How
You're
about a
welcome.
hug?
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Anytime for you guys. You know that.
All right, let's get in
Go
there.
watch your film.
Thanks.